Money is everywhere in our lives. We use it for almost everything we do from the moment we wake up. The coffee we drink in the morning costs money. The bus we take to work requires a fare. The food we eat for lunch is paid for with coins and notes, or more often, with a plastic card. We think about money constantly. We worry about earning enough of it and fret about how to spend it wisely. It dictates where we can live, what we can learn, and even how we spend our free time. This system of currency has become so deeply embedded in our society that imagining a world without it feels like imagining a world without air. It seems impossible, a fantasy from a storybook. But what if one day it simply vanished? Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning to find that all bank accounts are empty. All the cash in our wallets has turned to blank paper. The entire global financial system has evaporated overnight, leaving no trace behind. The initial reaction would likely be chaos and widespread panic. Supermarket shelves would be emptied within hours by people grabbing whatever they could. The systems we rely on for distribution and logistics would grind to a halt. In those first few confusing days and weeks, the world would feel frighteningly unstable. We would be forced to confront a fundamental question: how do we survive, and how do we live together when the primary tool for organizing our society is gone? This sudden absence of money would force us to look at the world, and each other, in a completely new way. The value of things would no longer be measured in pounds or dollars. Instead, value would become immediate and practical. A loaf of bread would be valuable not because it costs 2 pounds, but because it provides nourishment. A skilled carpenter would be valuable not for the wage they can earn, but for their ability to build a shelter or fix a broken chair. We would have to shift our entire mindset away from accumulation and towards utility and necessity. The complex, abstract world of finance would be replaced by this simple, tangible reality of human needs and human skills. This transition would be incredibly challenging, to say the least. The structures that hold our modern world together are built on a foundation of monetary exchange. Without it, how would we organize large-scale projects like maintaining the power grid or running hospitals? Who would collect the rubbish or ensure clean water flows from our taps? The initial shock would give way to a period of immense uncertainty and social experimentation. We would have to invent new ways of organizing ourselves, based not on profit and payment, but on shared goals and mutual responsibility. It would be the greatest social challenge humanity has ever faced, a complete and total reset of our civilization. In a moneyless world, the concepts of work and contribution would need to be fundamentally redefined. The motivation to work would no longer be a pay slip at the end of the month. Instead, people would work for entirely different reasons. Perhaps the primary driver would be a sense of purpose and a desire to contribute to the community's well-being. A doctor would not heal the sick for an income, but because they have the skills to help others and feel a responsibility to do so. A farmer would not grow food to sell it at a market, but to feed their family and their neighbors. This shift would connect our daily labor directly to its impact on the world around us. This new system would likely be built upon a foundation of collaboration and sharing. Communities would need to organize themselves to ensure everyone's basic needs are met. This might look like a giant localized network of favors and shared resources. If you needed your roof repaired, you wouldn't hire a roofer. You would ask for help from someone in your community with those skills. In return, you might offer to look after their children, share produce from your garden, or use your own skills to teach a class. Society would function like a large, extended family, where people help each other out of a sense of mutual obligation and care, rather than for financial gain. Of course, this raises questions about motivation for less desirable jobs. Who would volunteer to perform the difficult, dirty, or dangerous tasks that are essential for society to function? This is one of the hardest problems to solve. Perhaps these roles would be shared with everyone in the community taking turns. Maybe technology and automation could be prioritized to eliminate as much of this unpleasant labor as possible. Or perhaps a new form of social currency, based on reputation and respect, would emerge. Those who willingly took on the hardest jobs might be held in the highest esteem by their community, receiving special recognition or other non-material benefits for their crucial contributions. Ultimately, work would become an expression of who we are and what we care about. Instead of choosing a career based on its earning potential, people would be free to pursue their passions and talents. Someone who loves baking could run a community bakery, sharing their creations freely. An artist could create public art to beautify the town without worrying about selling their work to survive. This could lead to a renaissance of creativity and personal fulfillment. When the pressure to earn a living is removed, humanity's focus could shift towards learning, creating, and improving the world for everyone, not just for oneself. Daily life for a family would change in profound ways. The home would likely become a center of production once more. Families might tend to a garden to grow their own vegetables, mend their own clothes, and learn basic repair skills to maintain their possessions. The relentless pressure on parents to work long hours to pay for a mortgage and endless bills would disappear. This could mean that families have much more time to spend together. Instead of being exhausted consumers at the end of the day, family members could become active collaborators in the project of running their household and contributing to their community. Life would become more hands-on and less transactional. Schools would also undergo a radical transformation. The purpose of education would no longer be primarily to prepare students for the job market. Instead, schools would focus on fostering practical skills, critical thinking, and a sense of civic duty. A typical school day might involve learning how to grow food in the morning, studying history and science in the afternoon, and then participating in a community project. Education would be about developing a well-rounded, capable, and engaged human being who understands their role in society. The goal would be to equip children with the knowledge they need to live a good life and contribute meaningfully, not just to pass exams for a future career. Getting the things we need, like food and other goods, would depend on new systems of distribution. Local communities might establish central storehouses, where all locally produced goods are brought and then shared out according to need. Imagine a large community hub where farmers drop off fresh produce, bakers bring bread, and craftspeople leave handmade items. Families could then come and take what they require for the week. For goods that cannot be produced locally, communities would need to form trade networks with other towns. A coastal town might trade its surplus of fish with an inland town for grain or wood, all without a single coin changing hands. This new way of living would place enormous emphasis on trust and social reputation. In a world without money, your good name would be your most valuable asset. A person who is known to be lazy, selfish, or dishonest would find it very difficult to function. They might be excluded from the systems of mutual support that everyone else relies on. On the other hand, a person known to be hardworking, generous, and trustworthy would be highly valued. This social pressure could act as a powerful force for encouraging cooperation and discouraging antisocial behavior. Your standing in the community would be far more important than the balance in a bank account that no longer exists. There are many potential benefits to a world without money. The most obvious is the eradication of poverty and extreme inequality. Without money, there can be no billionaires and no one living in destitution. Everyone would have access to the basic necessities of life: food, shelter, healthcare, and education. The stress and anxiety related to financial insecurity, which plagues so many people today, would simply cease to exist. This could lead to a massive improvement in public health, particularly mental health. Furthermore, crime rates might plummet as many crimes, from theft to fraud, are motivated by the pursuit of money. Our society could become fundamentally safer and more caring. However, the challenges of such a world are immense and cannot be ignored. The problem of scale is a significant one. While a small, close-knit community might be able to function effectively based on trust and sharing, how would this work for a city of millions? Coordinating resources and labor for a massive population without a price mechanism to signal supply and demand would be incredibly complex. There is a real danger that such a system could lead to inefficiency, shortages, and mismanagement on a grand scale. Without the incentive of profit, innovation in technology and medicine might also slow down dramatically, as the investment required for research and development would be harder to justify. Another major concern is the potential loss of individual freedom and choice. In our current system, money gives us a degree of autonomy. We can choose where to live, what to buy, and how to spend our time, assuming we have enough of it. In a moneyless society organized around community needs, individual desires might have to take a back seat. You might not be able to get the exact type of food you want or live in the location you prefer. Your role in the community might be determined by your skills and the community's needs, rather than by your personal passion. There is a risk that this could lead to a conformist society where individual expression is discouraged. In my opinion, while the idea of a world without money is a beautiful and inspiring thought experiment, it would likely be worse in practice. Humanity, for all its capacity for kindness, is also driven by self-interest. The monetary system, for all its terrible flaws, provides a flawed but functional way of organizing a complex global society. It channels ambition and provides a clear, if imperfect, incentive structure. Erasing it completely risks chaos and the loss of the individual freedoms that many of us cherish. A better path, I believe, is not to abolish money, but to tame it. We should strive for a world with universal basic income, stronger social safety nets, and fairer taxation, creating a more utopian society without having to abandon the tools that, for better or worse, have built the modern world.